Well, hi everyone. Just want to let you know, my wife and I, my family and I are back from our little mini vacation in Florida. So awesome to have had the opportunity to get out of the Wisconsin cold, kind of break up winter a little bit, and spend some time in Florida with family and friends. You know, if you live in the north, you know that Wisconsin is a very cold state. It's sometimes, negative 10 degrees. So it's cold. You go outside and you see your breath and you get icicles forming around your beard and mustache. And you just want to get in, out of your car into your house as soon as you can, not spend much time outside unless you're all bundled up. So that's the state we live in, and any chance you get, you can get down to warmer weather, you're going to seize the opportunity. And we happen to have some wonderful friends that offered to put us up in their home in the west side of Florida. They live right by the beach, and we were able to stay there in the attached apartment by their home for 10 days. It was just a wonderful time, and so I just want to share that with you. We left, just about 2 weeks ago, and we took a plane trip out there. We actually went to the same place last year. We drove down, which took a lot of time, several days on either end, but we decided just to fly out. And prior to leaving for this trip, I finished a painting, and I put that on this channel in the 30-minute acrylic portrait, and actually did some more work on it past that 30-minute point, brought that painting down there to share with this couple that have been so kind to put us up in their home. And it was something I was able to fit right in my travel bag, which was pretty neat. Put it under the plane. And we got there. It was late. Late on Monday, I guess we finally got in. Midday, late Monday. And then, we just kind of recuperated from the plane trip. And, the next day, we just basically enjoyed our time on the beach. Beautiful weather. I mean, just... 70s during the day, 50s at night. You got the kind of warm sea breeze coming in, the little ripples in the tide. We were able to really capture some beautiful photos of that, and I hope to maybe do paintings either of the beach scenes or of my children playing by the beach, especially my youngest, my daughter. Always, a young girl makes for a cute painting, especially at the beach. So I hope to use some of these images for that. But basically, the first day or two, we just kind of hung out by the beach and just enjoyed the warmth there and the fresh air, the views. I mean, it was just incredible, seeing the sunset and how the light just reflected in the water, making a nice highlight right down the middle. The colors were incredible. Just wonderful to be a part of that. And then after, a day or two, we were collecting shells the whole time, and there is really a nice assortment of shells there deposited along the edge of the beach, and, walking right by the edge and letting the water, cascade over your feet was a wonderful thing. Of course, not having to wear a sweater and just walking around in t-shirt and shorts, that was really nice. But we collected some shells, and I decided to use the seashells to put into a frame. Well, we went to Hobby Lobby and bought a nice driftwood frame, and my wife was collecting shells, my daughter collecting shells. I didn't have to do a whole lot of collecting myself, but they collected some really nice seashells. We rinsed them off and everything, and then what we ended up doing was gluing them into that frame. So the first step, and this is something I've never done before, we got a driftwood frame at Hobby Lobby, like I said, glued some seashells into it, started by gluing in the larger shells first. You had to get, this special kind of glue for that, set them in place. Then after that all glued completely, the next step to get some little mini seashells, the kinds that are kind of broken up and the small ones, and some sand, and collect that. And then we put glue in between all the cracks of these larger shells like mortar, and then just kind of sprinkled it all along the top. My daughter was helping me with that. She did a great job. And we just sprinkled those in there. And then we would flip that frame over, and anything, that wasn't adhered to the glue well would just kind of fall off in the table. But everything that was meant to stay attached to the glue did. And maybe sprinkle a few more layers in there, and that kind of filled in all the cracks and made it look really nice, like one continuous seashell kind of design or motif going around the perimeter of the frame. And it was ready to give, and we were able to give that then to our friends at the house, and they really appreciated that. And so that was cool. So that was something we did for the first couple of days, just kind of stayed right by the house there. When you have the beach in your backyard, you don't really have to go too far away for some enjoyment. But we decided to take a trip then and visit my brother, who lives on the east side of Florida, over in Boynton Beach, and we were able to visit him and my sister-in-law. Now, it's interesting, as my sister-in-law Erin, she has just started painting recently. So she started doing acrylic portrait painting by following my YouTube videos that I did at the end of last year, or actually no, that would have been the year before, I think. Years go by fast. We did the first portrait painting challenge in 2020 in spring. Then we had the fall portrait painting challenge, and she started portrait painting with that fall portrait painting challenge. Followed all the lessons that I put out step by step, and she did a phenomenal job. I was just so proud of her, how good that first portrait, her very first portrait, how that turned out. And that was kind of a springboard for Erin. So after that, then she started doing some more paintings. It was, I'd say maybe just a matter of a month or two. She got a commission. So one of her friends commissioned her to do a portrait of some composers, actually several portraits of famous composers like Beethoven and Bach. And she wanted to put that up on her wall, because my sister Erin is a very accomplished pianist and vocalist, and she teaches music, and so one of her students commissioned her to do these portraits that she could put up next to her piano, and Erin did just a fabulous knockout job in all of these paintings. I mean, just so well done. So it's amazing how she learned how to portrait paint so quickly, and then is now doing just an excellent job creating realistic acrylic portraits. Very proud of her. And so when we went and visited them, she was able to show me some of her work at her place, which was super cool to see her progress, kind of give her a little critique on her work, which I'm going to share that here. All right, so here we go. There's the reference photo for your portrait, and there's the painting. Yeah, good rendition. You got the luminosity. Those eyes are so vibrant, like you look in the reference photo, how large they are and how much light is reflected on them, and you really captured that well. That's good.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do the fur and I'm starting to add layers of texture, and I know I have to because there's just so much variation. So I thought, okay, you kind of have to probably go with the darker and then add lighter on top while seeing some of the dark come through.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a trick to it.
Shoga's like, she's got his little tail twitches when you're talking about it.
It's like, why are you talking about me?
I know what that means.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing well with the fur. It's kind of a matter of getting the directional strokes of the fur, with your brush, whatever you're using, a flat brush or going into a smaller round to get the details, but really seeing those directional patterns, like here it kind of flows in this way, there it flows in that way, and then there, because it's foreshortened as it's on the leg and thigh area, it becomes just kind of these little diagonal shapes, triangular shapes. So it's really important there to get those triangular shapes in there and see that kind of dark section right there, and then it's a little lighter up above.
Oh yeah.
And that'll really help. I mean, you have that in there to some degree, but this is kind of all one tone. even the color is gorgeous. I mean, and the background is just fantastic, the way that shoga stands out. But if you can add a little bit of that highlight right above there,
sure,
and get those kind of dark little textured patterns in there. You don't have to do everything that you see, but just try to make it simplified and abstract.
Yeah. Okay.
And put that in right there. That's going to help. And then like this area here, those little patterns got a bit dark. These shapes right here, those three. Because when I look here, yeah, you can see some of that, but it's quite a bit lighter. And you're seeing kind of the white fur poking out from the skin, and then it's darker below, and you have the hard edges underneath each little tuft of fur, you know. So I would say if you can lighten those up a little bit, that'll help.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really nice. It's gonna be excellent. This will be important too, to capture those little highlights on the fabric, right there.
Yeah.
On the bottom, just to really place shoga on there. Have a couple little areas overlapping, you know, and that'll really place them there. Yeah. That'll integrate them more with the environment. Very cool.
All right.
That is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Look at that. Look at the little mouth there. The nose. You can just see it. Yes, you can just see that. But I like the kind of rich colors too up there. That's nice. And I know you use some raw umber dark, right?
Oh yeah, this is like all raw umber dark and you know, burnt raw sienna and you know, titanium white. I use titanium white.
Yeah, gotta have some titanium white in there. But as long as you have raw umber dark, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm a happy teacher. Good job, Erin. That's
right.
Awesome.
All right, thank you, Matt.
Yeah, so you can see, Erin has just done a phenomenal job. It was great to see her work, but you know, most of the time while we were there, we just chatted. We sat out in their back patio area and just talked and shared, and that was really cool. So it was good to chat with Erin and Pete. After that, we went back home and drove back to the place on the other side of Florida, kind of a late night drive. Yeah, so we then spent Sunday with our friends. We went to their church, which was really cool. Had breakfast with them, and then Monday we went to Sarasota. Yes, Monday we went to Sarasota, which is kind of on the northwest side of Florida, or midwest side of Florida, and we went to the Ringling Art Museum, John and Mabel Ringling Art Museum. And if you remember the Ringling brothers, they were the famous guys that had these circuses all over back in the early 1900s. You know, Barnum Bailey and Ringling, they're just these huge circus mandates, and they put up shows all over the U.S., you know, traveled around, and they were very wealthy. Circuses brought in a lot of money back then. And so during that time, John Ringling amassed a huge art collection. He just loved art, and he collected a lot of Baroque artwork, and he put it up, you know, for exhibition, and eventually it turned into a museum of sorts. He bequeathed that collection to the state of Florida for posterity, so they could then enjoy it. And so we were able to enjoy that as well. We visited the museum, and I was just blown away by the incredible architecture, blown away by just some of the really, really beautiful artwork we saw there. Super detailed and realistic, and so monolithic, so large. Some of the pieces there just seem to, you know, span like 3 times my height. They're just really, really large pieces, and it was really cool to see them in person. We also got a chance to see from the outside his mansion, which really was a superb piece of architecture, very unique and very fitting what you'd expect somebody who was in the circus to have. It kind of had that stylistic look of somebody that you'd expect maybe was a circus mandate, you know, so pretty cool. We just enjoyed our time there, and then the next day we kind of just hung around home and capped off our trip with a visit down to the Everglades, where we got to go on an airboat ride. And that was really fun for the kids. You know, you're on these big airboats, and they've got the giant motor in the back. And you've probably seen them in pictures. You know, they have them in all the areas of Louisiana, you know, the bayous. And you're very close to the water because the boat just kind of sits right up above the water. And you go fast. I mean, you know, they take it slowly kind of for a little while to, you know, talk about some of the flora, fauna, and different creatures, and then they just cruise, they just jet, and you know, the wind is just blowing past your hair. If you don't have your hat held down, it'll fly off your head. But my kids were just loving it, well, most of them, and we had a chance to see some alligators up close. It kind of slowed things down, and we were within, I would say, almost arm's length of alligators. But in January, you know, alligators are pretty sedentary. They're not too active, so the tour guide said there's not much chance of them snapping out at you, so don't worry as long as you don't try to touch them. So that was fun to see alligators up close, and we had a little show afterwards where this guy had some baby alligators and larger alligators, and then he even did a cool video showing a close-up of an alligator.
Just watch how they can digest. Check it out. So, throat closed, tongue is attached. Most of the teeth in there are quite small. Some are bigger than others. They don't need really big teeth. All they need to do is hold on to slippery fish, turtles, birds. What up?
And yeah, so he had the alligator and everything. You'd see the inside of the jaw, which is really super cool. It's just a great time. We had a fantastic time in Florida. We flew back, and the flight went well and everything, and my daughter just loved the flight especially. I was so proud of her for her first time flying. She did so well. She was super calm during the whole thing, and she seemed to really enjoy it. It's neat when you're flying up in the air. You know, you see all the palm trees and everything kind of get smaller and smaller and disappear, and then you have the thick blanketing of clouds. You get up really high, and it almost looks like you're up in space. You know, the sky is really dark above, and you see, you know, the clouds below, and you could almost imagine what it would be like, you know, if you were to enter outer space, if you use your imagination. And then, you know, slowly you make your descent. Of course, your ears are starting to pop a little bit, but you know, you just enjoy seeing, after you get through the clouds, the ground and everything. And, you know, I noticed how we could see some of the topography as we got, I would say maybe halfway between Florida and Wisconsin. I'd estimate we were probably in Tennessee, you know, that area, maybe southern Illinois. And, you know, there were still trees on the ground, but eventually you saw some snow appear, and then more snow and more snow. And you could see these white little rivulets of shapes, you know, on the ground, interspersed between some of the trees, and then pretty soon tons of white on the ground, and you knew we're getting close to Wisconsin. It's getting cold. And eventually we got to the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport, and I had all my layers on, so I knew, yeah, I'm going to be prepared for this, you know, because when we left for Florida, we had, you know, just a carry-on bag. We didn't want to stow luggage away or anything. And we just had our carry-on bags, and I had my thick coat and my vest and everything. And so when we got off the plane in Fort Lauderdale, man, oh man, I wasn't prepared for how hot it would be. You know, leaving in Minnesota, and it's like 10 degrees below zero. And then you get off the plane, and I still had my coat on and my vest because, you know, I was holding bags, so it was just easier to keep them on my person. But then getting out of, you know, the airport terminal and getting onto the shuttle bus to get to our car rental, man, the heat just quickly, got to me, and I'm like, I've got to take this vest off and this coat off, or I'm gonna cook, you know. And then the converse of that, on the way back in to Wisconsin, to Minnesota, but this time I was prepared. You know, I made sure I put on my vest and my coat, and I bundled up so that when we got out to my brother-in-law, who picked us up from the airport, you know, I was fully layered, and it didn't feel so bad. And some people are asking me, it's probably a big shock to your system being in 70-degree weather, coming back into Wisconsin where it's -10. Like, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a shock, but I actually feel like I absorbed some of the warmth and brought it back, so it wasn't too bad. And today I actually feel, I feel good. I feel like I've absorbed some of that warmth, not too cold, even though it is like, just a couple degrees outside as I record this video. But I got the wood stove going and I got layers on here. And hey, it was just a great time, just a fantastic time in Florida. So thankful. I thank God, for friends like we have. We were able to do this, and they were so generous to us. Just a blessing. And so I just want to share this with you. I hope this encourages you that God provides for your every need, and He'll give you the rest you need at the right times, the right seasons of your life. This is not something we were ever able to do years ago, but at this season in our life, God has opened these doors for us. And as an artist, it's good to have some relaxation, some time to be with family, and that's kind of what I've taken away from this. As an artist, I put in many hours in my business. Sometimes 60, 80 hours a week, and there's been times I haven't been able to see much of my family, and so it was just really nice to have the 10 days just to really focus on being present with my family, enjoying their presence, enjoying beautiful scenery with them, having these shared experiences, and of course spending a little bit of time as well with my friends and my extended family. But what a blessing. God has been so good to us, and so we're refreshed, we're rejuvenated, and I'm ready to teach some new things here in 2022. I want to share with you more portrait painting techniques, want to encourage you and see new artists join this movement of realistic acrylic portrait painting, realizing that it is possible to create a realistic acrylic portrait with acrylic. And do it even if you've never painted before. So I want to encourage you with that. I'm excited to teach here this year. Thanks for watching this video. I know it's kind of like one of those old school slideshows where somebody's talking to you about their vacation. But thanks for watching this. Thanks for being a part of what I do here at Realistic Acrylic Portrait School and Fine Art by mattphilleo. And look forward to sharing more with you in the future. God bless you and your family, and we'll talk to you real soon.